Hashirim is the third full-length album from Polish and Italian black metal act Amalekim. And this is a group fronted by a fellow from Poland, vocalist guitarist Mróz, who brought in a different group for his first record. It was clearly inspired by writings of Michael Ford, as well as thoughts on chaos gnostic and Kabbalistic ideas you'll find in Dissection. And I know that because you can listen to that first record and you'll hear Dissection all over it. The presentation is pretty unmistakably there. But as they worked towards different partnerships and different opportunities, these still very young folks formed a group that was a different lineup and a different sound for Avodah Zarah, and focused in on their own unique sound from that point on. The style of it is much more modern black metal, and what I mean is it is still melodic in some sense. It is semi-dissonant otherwise, and centers around a modern vision of atmospheric but melodic black metal. Using those dissonant ideas went a little haywire on that second record for me. It wasn't that interesting the way they used it, and that repeats here on this one, but I would compare their sound and presentation on this third record closer to the ambitious side of bands like Voodoo or Outlaw, newer bands that have a lot of the classics in mind, but are finding different avenues for both melody and their own broadening oeuvre as artists. So different vocal styles, different influences, and maybe a little bit less dissonance factor into this record. So what we'll do is we'll get a taste of that here with a song, and then I'll talk about what made this record interesting, but what didn't really overall work for me. So while I am a Watean fan, and I did really like some of those earlier records, I've never really been a fan of a lot of the bands that they influence, because what it does is it cuts apart a lot of the specificity of old school black metal and tries to pull it into a more holistic vision, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. In the case of Amalekim, they're doing a lot of different things, and one of them is taking lead guitars as the major instrument and center of melody, and cutting a lot of the songs around those. And while I would like a lot more focus on the riff and the rhythm and whatnot, the infectious nature of a lot of their presentation is always there. What I don't fully understand is the theme of this record. So the style of it is very strong. The production values are quite good. It does feel stylized in every case, but then when it comes time to understand what they're trying to say with the imagery and messaging, I don't fully understand what they're telling me. Is this a historical focus? Is this an esoteric spiritual journey? Is this there's not a really clear goal there. Whatever it is about, it is a strong record. It does have very exuberant melodic ideas to push out. There's a lot of energy to this record, but I think there's a point where they've iterated a little bit too close to the last album and then took out a lot of the underground black metal ideas that made it darker and more dramatic. So what we get is something a little bit easier listening, and something that I would give a moderately high recommendation of. It's not a bad record at all. It's actually pretty good and easy to sit down and listen to, but I didn't feel like I was challenged at any point here. It was all very pleasant and just all right. So check that out for yourself and see how that lines up with your taste. Read my written review to kind of see what I thought in more depth, and see where you land with this record.